Rizal did not retract. Jose Rizal is often the subject of intense historical debate and controversy over his alleged retraction of his writings and beliefs. Retraction is an act of withdrawing something that was previously communicated, whether it's a statement, publication, claim, or assertion. In connection with the state of Jose Rizal retraction, have something to do with his literary work being retracted in opposition to the Spanish government and the Catholic Church. As a result, in this discussion, we will examine into the reasons why Jose Rizal did not retract his beliefs based on the evidences given by historical authors. We have the honor of delving into the writings of eminent authors as we explore the subject of our report, Rizal did not retract. Rafael Palma is one of the known biographers of Jose Rizal. He finished law at University of Santo Tomas in 1892. He is a politician, lawyer, writer, and an educator. Rafael Palma was the author of Biografía de Rizal, with the English title, The Pride of Malay Race. The book was printed in 1949 at New York Prentice Hall. I declare myself a Catholic, and in this religion in which I was born and educated, I wish to live and die. I retract with all my heart whatever my words, writings, publication, and conduct has been contrary to my character as son of Catholic Church. In this statement, Rafael Palma stated that retraction is not in keeping with Rizal's character and mature beliefs. He called the retraction story a pious fraud. After Rizal died, all the claims that he had removed his papers were unfounded or a falsification. For Palma, the fact of Rizal conversion was only a mere rumor. The retraction paper was kept confidential so that no one but the authorities could see it. Josephine Bracken's certificate of canonical marriage has been rejected. The burial of Rizal was kept secret. There were no masses held by Catholics for his soul or burial. Rizal was not buried in Pacos Catholic Cemetery, but he was buried outside the inner wall of the Paco Cemetery. Rizal claimed that he died impenitently and did not offer divine help. Dr. Ricardo Pascual, the first chairperson of the newly independent UP Department of Philosophy, he is the author of Dr. Jose Rizal Beyond the Grave, a vindication of the martyr of Bagumbayan. The book was printed in 1935 at Manlapit Press. He is one of the person who was given permission by the Archbishop to examine the retraction document. According to Dr. Ricardo Pascual, the slant of the letters in the standard writings gives average several points higher than the average yielded by the retraction document, and perhaps more significantly, the most slanted letters are to be found in the document. There are significant variations in the way individual letters are formed. With reference to the signature, Pascual notes no less than 7 differences, one of the most significant being indication of stop, which, say the critic, are most naturally explained by the fact that a forger might stop at certain points to determine what form to make next. There are marked similarities in several respects between the body of the retraction and the writing of all 3 signers, Rizal and the 2 witnesses, thus serving to point to Pascual's conclusion that this is a one-man document. Austin Coates, he was a British civil servant, writer, traveler, and historian, and the author of Rizal, Philippine Nationalist and Martyr, 1968. The book was published in Hong Kong, New York, Oxford University Press. According to Austin Coates' statement, Pio Pi, E. Vidal, and Probity Jesuit do not believe in the retraction of Rizal and have died confessed. The family of Rizal claimed Rizal had not retracted. If so, while they were talking, he must have told his mother about it, creating Balaguer's account to openly compliment himself. Balaguer's exposed his own scam, Rizal decided to compose poetry. There were only books, letters, and alcohol burner left in place when the authorities were about to dispose. They had not found any poetry on Rizal's place, and they disclosed that Rizal was not inside Fort Santiago that night, and Rizal did not know what was then taking place. Balaguer made his account to explain that Rizal is not licensed to compose, but only to look at the Mi Ultimo Adios. To illustrate that writing, it only took him a few hours. Rizal claimed that the friar bishop was the prime mover of deception and that this friar was the one who needed his retraction. Hermenegildo Cruz, a founding member of Union Obrera Democratica, member of the Philippine Assembly and director of the Bureau of Labor in 1924, labor leader and writer that argued against the retraction and expressed that the claims do not fit well to the facts. The following statements are as follows. The document of retraction was not made public until 1935. Even members of the family did not see it. It was said to be lost. No effort was made to save Rizal from the death penalty after his signing of the retraction. The usual rebuttal is that Rizal's death was due to political factors, and with this, the religious authorities could not interfere. Rizal's burial was kept secret. He was buried outside the inner wall of the Papal Cemetery, and the record of his burial was not placed on the page for entries of December 30th, but on the special page where at least one other admitted non-penitent is record. There is no marriage certificate or public record of the marriage of Rizal with Josephine Bracken. To say that these were not needed is not very convincing. Finally, Rizal's behavior as whole during his last days at Fort Santiago and during the last 24 hours in particular does not point to a conversion, whether written during the last 24 hours or somewhat earlier. Rizal's Ultimo Adios does not suggest any change in Rizal's thought. The letters which Rizal wrote during his last hours do not indicate conversion or even religious turmoil. In the evening, Rizal's mother and sister Trinidad arrive and nothing is said to them about the retraction, although Father Balaguer claims that even in the afternoon, Rizal's attitude was beginning to change and he was asking for the formula of retraction. Dr. Ramon G. Lopez, he is the great-grandnephew of Dr. Jose Rizal, who testified that Rizal did not retract in part 2 of the lecture delivered at the Chicago's Newberry Library on June 18, 2011. Though the issue of retraction remains contentious for some people, it is my personal opinion that there is no controversy that Dr. Jose Rizal did not make any recantation of his writings and beliefs. Catholic Church to now admit the pious fraud it had committed in saying that Dr. Jose Rizal had abjured his writings and beliefs, when all evidence points to the fact that he did not. Dr. Ramon G. Lopez support his claim with the following statement. The lack of a letter of retraction despite the Rizal's family attempt to obtain one. The absence of a Christian burial or funeral rites performed by the Jesuit who had a special connection with Rizal. Mention of a forged autobiography of Josephine Bracken claiming marriage to Rizal, and the confession of a master forger involved in creating retraction letters unexposed by authors Runes and Buenafe, highlighting inconsistencies in facsimiles of the alleged retraction document. The author's personal opinion that Rizal did not retract his writings and beliefs, and a call for transparency in examining the alleged retraction document. Author's intention of producing a sources. The author is indeed challenging the prevailing historical narrative regarding Jose Rizal's supposed retraction of his anti-Catholic writings. They present arguments against the authenticity of the retraction document, which is a crucial aspect of Rizal's historical legacy. The author questions the accuracy of historical accounts and the motive behind Rizal's alleged conversion, suggesting that it may have been political or religiously motivated. Furthermore, the author aims to uphold the image and character of Jose Rizal as a mature and principled individual. They argue that Rizal's strong and consistent belief would have made it unlikely for him to renounce them, especially under duress. duress. By disputing the authenticity of the retraction, the author seeks to protect Rizal's reputation and emphasize that Rizal had a well-thought-out system of beliefs that he would not have abandoned abruptly. These arguments challenge the authenticity and credibility of the retraction. Here are the key points made. Secrecy surrounding the document. Critics point out that the retraction document was not made public until 1935, many years after Rizal's execution. Even Rizal's family did not have access to it, and it was claimed to be lost. Lack of effort to save Rizal. Critics argue that no effort was made to save Rizal from the death penalty after he signed the retraction, suggesting that his execution was due to political factors and that the religious authorities did not intervene. Secret burial. Rizal's burial was kept secret, and he was buried outside the inner wall of the Paco Cemetery. The discovery of Rizal's Christian burial certificate in the same file as the retraction document raises further question about its authenticity, content, and wording. Critics argue that the content of the retraction document is oddly worded, given the circumstances. For instance, Rizal's statement about wishing to live and die in the Catholic religion appears strange considering the little time he had left to live. Alleged confession of forgery. The author references a story from Runes, which reports an interview with Antonio K. Abad, who claimed that Roman Roque admitted to being employed by the friars to make several copies of a retraction document in 1901. Lack of marriage certificate. Critics argue that there is no marriage certificate or public record of Rizal's marriage to Josephine Bracken, casting doubt on the validity of their marriage. Rizal's behavior. Critics point to Rizal's behavior during his last days at Fort Santiago and his lack of religious turmoil in his writings and interactions. They argue that Rizal's behavior and writings do not indicate a genuine conversion or religious change. Maturity and predictability. Rizal's character is described as mature, and it is argued that at the age of 35, he was not easily swayed by the death threat, belief, and conversion. Rizal's alleged conversion is seen as inconsistent with his mature religious thought and is not attributed to a sudden change in his religious conviction. It makes it challenging to believe that he would suddenly abandon his religious belief for another. In conclusion, the absence of the original retraction document, inconsistencies in the copies, Rizal's unwavering beliefs, questionable circumstances, the lack of independent witnesses, potential political motivations, and the desire to prioritize Rizal's broader legacy are the key pieces of evidences presented by those who argue that he did not retract his writings and belief. It is a subject that continues to be analyzed and debated with scholars and historians, offering different interpretations based on the available evidence and historical context.